morning. Sorry about the no makeup. We're going to Death Valley today, so I don't see the point in wearing anything because I'm only going to sweat it off. Yeah, it's the morning of Friday the 13th. Why we decided to go to Death Valley on Friday the 13th, I do not know. I'm just on my own in a room right now. I didn't send Sheenie out. Sheenie went out to CVS to buy a new micro SD card for her GoPro. And I stayed behind to do unpacking, which I've now finished, all done. So I think I'm just going to go downstairs and wait for Sheenie to get back so we can have some breakfast before we go. It's now about 11:26, not about 11:26, it's exactly 11:26. We have AM, yes, otherwise it would be dark out here. We have now checked out of New York, left Las Vegas, popped into Walmart for snacks and water, and we are now en route to Death Valley, so I suppose I shall see you there. But where my sunburn is peeling, I'm afraid to expose it to the sun, so I'm reluctantly keeping a jacket on. If anyone was wondering why Death Valley is my favourite place in the world, this is why. I don't know how well you're going to be able to hear me, if at all, up here at Zabriskie Point, because it's pretty windy. But yeah, this is where we're sitting right now. And I can't see a damn thing in the viewfinder, but I'm hoping that you can see the white expanse down there. Can we see? I think you can. That down there is Badwater Basin, which we'll be stopping at in probably about an hour or so. I mentioned that Death Valley is the largest national park in the 48 contiguous United States. That just means all of the ones that are connected by land, so it doesn't include Lascaux. Death Valley is very cool, so Badwater Basin down there is the lowest point of elevation in the contiguous United States, at 182 feet below sea level, I think. Death Valley is also the hottest place in the world, or the place that's recorded the hottest air temperature ever, which was 56 or 57 degrees Celsius. Badwater Basin is the lowest point, and Mount Whitney, which I don't know if we can see from here. No, I think it's sort of behind this area. A mountain called Mount Whitney is the highest point in the contiguous United States at 14,000 and something feet. So yeah, Death Valley, a land of extremes. This is why it fascinates me so much. Oh my god. I was wondering where Sheenie had got to. Is she fucking nuts? Bitch, what are you doing down there? Right, I've given up and taken the jacket off. I'm going to have to liberally reapply the SPF for like half an hour or something. We've done a brave little climb down to here. And I can't believe, like, that's the wall where I was sitting earlier. And I can't believe how much different the view is. Like, I guess all this black stuff is like where lava has flowed at some point in history. You can't see any of this from up there. Zabriskie Point done. Boom! Boom! Woo! Yeah! I've got such a dry mouth, but even though I keep drinking water, it's so hot. I keep getting, you know, that white crap in the corners of your mouth. I was like that in Joshua Tree and the Mojave as well. But we're back in the car, as you can obviously tell. Next stop, Badwater Basin. Well, we've just started down Badwater Road. We're about, I'd say, 14 to 15 miles away from Badwater Basin. but we've had to stop because they're doing some roadworks down here, and it's like they're making it one-way traffic, and one of these high-vis guys has just come and told us that we're gonna have to wait about 20 minutes before we can move, which is fine because we can just sit here with music on and have a drink and a snack. But someone just pulled in behind us, and then they were told that it was going to be 20 minutes, and they immediately turned around and fucked off. Like, can you really not be bothered to wait 20 minutes for all that lays ahead of here? Like, honestly. Oh, I think I said 182 feet earlier, but I was wrong. It's 282 feet below sea level down here. She's off again. I think she heard me. So this here is the Artist Palette. We're about halfway through our drive down Artist Drive, which I'll steal Sheenie's GoPro footage of, so you may have seen it before this clip. But this is a bit where you can pull out and see all the different colours in the cliffs. I don't know how well they're coming out in the video, but there's like some lilac-y colour there, and some green and some purple. It's all caused by like millions of years ago. There's Sheenie, teeny tiny little Sheenie. It's all caused by volcanic eruptions millions of years ago, and then the ash has been chemically altered by heat and water over time, which is what causes all the different colours. Science, bitch. So as we know, Sheenie's gone nuts and climbed down into the valley again, and I've gone the opposite way. I've climbed a little bit higher. I've parked just down there, and the view is just, it's ridiculous. Look at this, beautiful, incredible. Yeah, so I'm probably going to perch myself on that little rock there, sit and wait for Sheenie to resurface. I've just noticed, which is quite a relief because I really need a wee. A little restroom over there. I don't think we've spoken about nature wees. So out in the desert, in the national park, so the same in Joshua Tree, the toilets are composting toilets. So like, it's a normal toilet seat that you sit on, but there's no water in it. It's just a massive hole in the ground and you just pee straight into it. And amazingly, it doesn't really smell. Like, you would think that just a big empty pile of shit would be pretty gross, but it's not that bad, and it's quite liberating, and you get a little bit of a breeze on your lady part, so that's fun. And oh wow, I've just spotted where Sheenie is. I can only see because she's standing against the green. Right, the battery died, I've replaced it now. So you see this green bit up here? That's where Sheenie was, but my battery died when I tried to show you, and in the time it's taken me to walk back to the car and change my battery, she's pretty much home. So that's slightly annoying. Cover girl, put your face in your walk, head to toe, let your whole body talk. Cover girl. So we've arrived at Stovepipe Wells Village, which is where we're staying for the next 2 nights. It's really cute. I mean, don't know how much you can see without me zooming in, but just these little lodges. I was just reading in the little guest book thing in the room that this initially opened in 1929. Like, I had no idea it was that old. So yeah, we came straight here from the Artist Drive. Bear with. Came straight here from the Artist Drive because the sun was getting a bit low and we'd taken a bit longer to do bits and pieces, so we skipped a couple of things. We'll just go back tomorrow because we've got loads of time. So yeah, we've checked in here. We may go and have a look at the little restaurant, see what's on offer there, although I imagine it'll be reasonably expensive for what it is. But we may check it out anyway, otherwise we're going to be subsisting on crisps for the next couple of days. That's all we've really got with us. Yeah, we drove past the Mesquite Dunes on the way here, which we were hoping to watch the sunset at, but we've left it a little bit late, so I don't know if you can see, the sun's already going down. So we'll probably leave that one for tomorrow. But yeah, I'll see what we're doing next and bring you with. I'm looking really pink in this light, which is interesting, really shiny. Sorry if it's quite noisy, it's the outside of air conditioning units. But yeah, we've just got back to the room. It's only about 20 to 9, but we've decided that we're going to get an early night because it's amazing how early you can sleep when there's no Wi-Fi to distract you. So yeah, we're going to get an early night and then we're going to get up really early tomorrow morning and then drive a couple of miles down to the sand dunes that I mentioned earlier to try and see the sunrise, which will make a nice change from the sunset. Got Sheeny to agree to it on the proviso that we can always come back to the room and sleep for a couple of hours afterwards. So yeah, we'll do that in the morning, but for now I think we're going to turn in. Good morning, it's 5:30 AM, so you don't get the privilege of seeing me because we literally just rolled out of bed, put some hoodies on and got in the car.
Still in her PJs?
Yeah, Sheeny's still in her PJs. I've swapped my tiny little PJ shorts for some leggings. I haven't even straightened my fringe, which is something that I never normally leave the house without doing. But we're, you can probably sort of see that the sun is just about starting to rise, so we are driving a couple of miles down to the sand dunes to hopefully see a nice sunrise. Well, here we are, barely even 3 minutes later, using my phone to light the way so we don't trip over any rocks or anything. Not really sure where we're going, but we're definitely not the only people here. There's about 10 other cars in the sand dunes car park bit. So we're just sort of following the light from other people's phones and hoping that they know a good spot to stand. There's the dunes, we're back in the car. We're going to go and get a little bit more sleep, I think. Morning again.
Not morning.
No, it's not morning, it's just gone midday. So we had a mega lay-in, which I think we deserved because we've had a lot of late nights and early mornings.
Just driving all day.
Yeah, just driving all day. It's tiring. The housekeeper made us feel a little bit guilty about it when we eventually surfaced from the room just before midday. She was like, "Oh, you guys finally up."
Do you know what? She knocked twice about housekeeping, and I told her the first time we're not interested, and then she came back like 2 minutes later. Right.
Honestly. But yeah, now we're in the car. We're having like a Joshua Tree issue all over again. I don't know if I mentioned the other day, but when we were in Joshua Tree, we weren't able to pay the entrance fee when we arrived at the visitor centre because the like the cash system or whatever, like the till system had gone down. So the ranger there said, "Oh, just pay on your way out, like at the exit kiosk." But because we stayed there all day, we didn't get out of the park until about, oh, she's pointing out the dunes. It's where we were this morning, watching the sunrise.
Definitely going back there. People are idiots though. It's midday and they're on the tubes.
Yeah, that's not the best light for it, is it?
But it's also so hot.
Fuck's sake, woman interrupted me and now I've lost my train of thought.
About paying for the ticket.
Oh yeah, so when we went to actually leave the park, it was probably like, I don't know, 7:30, 8 o'clock in the evening, and there was nobody at the exit booth, so we weren't able to pay. So we did Joshua Tree for free. And yesterday when we...
donation later or something.
Can you stop interrupting me?
Sorry.
Yesterday when we arrived, we went left from where the visitor centre is first, and then by the time we came right past the visitor centre it was gone 5 PM, so it was closed. And then we found another ranger station where we could have paid just before Stovepipe Wells where we're staying, and they were also closed, but they had a card machine outside, but the card machine was out of order. So we popped back to the ranger station this morning and that is closed again. So I'm like, well, do you want our fucking money or not? How are we supposed to pay? I want to pay you in order that you may maintain your spectacular national parks, but you won't let me pay.
God damn it,
God damn it, Bernice. In that rant, I completely forgot to say what we're actually doing. We are now driving to a town called Rhyolite, which is a ghost town that was heavily populated during the gold rush era, and now, as the name suggests, has nobody and nothing there. Well, we've arrived in Rhyolite. I spotted these sculptures from the road about 2 miles away, which is how I knew we were coming to the right place. This is based on The Last Supper, and I was just reading in the little tiny museum room thing behind us that the artist who made them, who I think was Belgian, he used live models to cast these things, so he sort of like had residents from the next town over, which is still operational, sort of stand in one position for 20 minutes while he covered them in plaster of Paris to get the moulds for all of these, which I think is pretty cool. I assume the one in the middle is Jesus, if this is the Last Supper. And the man who's running the little museum room behind me, I don't know if you can see it, I can't see anything because once again very sunny. He was asking us questions about London and what it's like to live there and blah blah blah, and he was like, oh, my wife is the 11th great-granddaughter of William Shakespeare and the 16th great-granddaughter of Geoffrey Chaucer, and I was like, oh, okay. So I was just like, wow. But that's something that a lot of Americans do in my experience. They will like claim how far back their heritage goes and say that there's some sort of English in there somewhere. I'm like, no, there's probably not. was a really nice, interesting little stop. I've always wanted to go to a ghost town, so that was fun. We sat and had a little picnic of breakfast bars and bananas. That was the first thing that we've eaten today, and that was probably like, what, 2 o'clock?
Yeah, but I ate like half a bag of Jolly Ranchers soft bite things.
Oh well, it was the first thing I'd eaten.
We'll get some more.
Sheenie will get some more Jolly Ranchers. It's very important that you know that.
They're really good.
They're really good.
And watermelon.
Apple and watermelon. So now we're going to head back into Death Valley and hopefully, finally, be able to fucking pay for our visit. Yeah, and then we'll see what we're doing from there. Oh, was that a fart? We've just pulled up in front of the state line just because there was space to pull over and we thought it might be fun to commemorate. So right now we're in Nevada, but in about...
Leaving Nevada for the last time.
Leaving Nevada for the last time on this trip. But in about 50 steps time, we'll be in California. So that's quite cool. Here I am, standing on the state line. This foot is in Nevada. This foot is in California. Nevada. Ta-da! But yeah, we've come down to our next stop, which is Salt Creek. It's probably about 4:30 now. This is where we are. Actual water in the desert. And this creek, which is just literally barely an inch or two of water over the sand, is the only habitat in the world of this particular kind of fish called the Salt Creek pupfish. And I didn't know if we were going to see any, but there's actually loads swimming about. I don't know if you'll be able to...
They look like guppies.
Yeah, they look like little baby guppy fish. I don't know if you'll be able to see them on camera, so let me find one and zoom in. Typically when I'm looking there aren't any. Oh, here we go. Can you see these guys swimming about? They're really small and quite camouflaged. But yeah, this is the only place in the world where they live, so isn't that cool? We're going to leave you Salt Creek, I think, so we popped back to Stovepipe Wells to fill up the car, and now we've come down again to Mesquite Sand Dunes where we're going for sunrise to watch the sunset. It was quite a struggle this morning walking around, so taking my shoes off, which does mean I've got one less hand to carry things. I normally carry this camera in one hand and my phone in the other for pictures, but my shoes. Frankly, I think someone should give me a medal. Carrying my shoes is driving me insane. So I've tied them to the bottom of my backpack. Genius! You better work! Well, those sand dunes were certainly the most physically demanding thing I've done on the entire trip. I feel quite accomplished now though, which is nice. Only trouble is, while filming the sunset, I got some sand in my lens of this camera, so now every time I turn it on and off, the aperture gets stuck and I have to move it with my fingers. So hopefully I can clean it out somehow. But right now we've just arrived back at the same restaurant that we ate at last night to get some dinner. which frankly I think we deserve after today. Well, it's entirely pitch black, so you're not going to be able to see anything in this shot. I will probably just use the audio from it and replace it with a couple of pictures that I just took just about with the night mode on this camera. But I can't film it at all. We've come back to the Mesquite Dunes for the third time in 24 hours. What time is it? It's probably like 9 o'clock.
I will tell you. 9. Yeah, 9:15.
9:15. Yeah, we've come to look at the stars, and it's like you can see a few stars from where we're staying in Stovepipe Wells, about 2 miles down the road. But I can't believe what a difference such a short distance has made. Like if you come down to where there's no light whatsoever.
It's a blanket of stars.
I've never seen anything like it, and I doubt I ever will again.
Yeah, I think this is where we are.
It's amazing.
Out in the desert, clear sky, nothing to spoil it. I've never seen this many stars.
No, me neither. So yeah, hopefully the pictures come out okay and I can put a couple in. But
if not, you just have to take our word for it.
Yeah, you'll just have to believe us and stare at black for 1 minute and 15 seconds, which is how long I've been talking to Paul so far. But yeah, I guess when we've had our fill of the night sky, we're just going to head back and go to bed, so... I know, right? So we'll see you tomorrow.
Good night.
Good morning. It is Sunday the 15th of April, or day 10 of our epic California road trip. We've just checked out of our little lodge in Stovepipe Wells, which has been really nice. I think I'll miss it. Bed has been super comfy. And we are leaving Death Valley today, but on the way we're hoping to stop somewhere named Darwin Falls. We're sort of winging it a little bit because we have no directions, but I do know that it's the first left turn after a gas station, and I know which gas station it is, so I'll just keep an eye out for that, and hopefully we should be okay. I don't know if you can see, but we've just spotted a coyote. It's actually the second one that we've seen. Ooh. I can't keep the camera still because we're driving on a dirt road. Can you see it? There he is. There he is. Wild coyote. Well, we've made it down to the Darwin Falls Trail after... Sorry, something bag up. After a fairly long drive. It's probably... I don't know. I think it was probably shorter than the dirt road that we drove to get to the lava tubes a few days ago. And a lot less unpleasant. It was less like... That's a scientific description. Yeah, so we've got about a mile to walk to get to the falls according to this sign. Well, as you can see, it's getting a lot greener. And just spotted the first trickle of water, which must mean that we're getting close. Sheenie reckons it's been about 45 minutes, but it feels like 10 hours.
It was strenuous.
So exhausting, and it requires a lot of thinking about where to put your feet. And but we made it. And look.
Oh, so my grandpa said that like with that hat.
Sadly, the time has come for us to leave this amazing place. because we had quite a trek back to the car. I didn't really film a lot on the walk up here, and I won't on the way back either, because I need both hands for, yeah, safety first, for gripping onto things and climbing up rocks and down rocks and jumping over streams and getting my feet wet. Speaking of feet, shout out to Mountain Warehouse for these amazing walking shoes that we both bought.
I got 2 pairs.
They were like 20 quid and they've served me so well. Like, I could not have done this in my normal Vans. That would have been an absolute disaster. So yeah, gonna head back now. See you in the car. Well, I said I probably wouldn't film anything on the way back, but since I'm on a bit of stable ground, just to give you an idea, that's where we came up from, like on the way there, and we continued climbing up all of this nonsense to get to the falls. So apparently I'm more physically capable than I thought. And we're over the way. Well, we've made it back to the parking lot. Here's the sign at the start of the trail. Sheenie's sitting in the car waiting for me. She's gonna have to make her wait because I think I've earned this cigarette. It was a lot quicker and a lot easier on the way back. And something that I wanted to mention that I think I haven't mentioned before is how much wildlife we've seen. So there was that coyote that we saw on the drive up here. We also saw one last night, I think it was, but it was dark and we wouldn't have been able to get a picture or video or anything. And then on this walk down there we've seen loads of dragonflies, like really bright colours. There was like these fat red ones and electric blue ones. We saw a few lizards, loads of colourful butterflies. It's been really nice. So Darwin Falls was our sort of one and only excursion for the day, because we knew it'd take a fair while. I guess the time now is probably about 1:30, 2. I've got absolutely no idea. My phone's in my bag in the car. But we've now got a long drive, I think about 3.5 hours to Bakersfield, which is where we're staying overnight. There's not really anything there, it's just a stop off point for us. So we're gonna head there and get some well-deserved internet, because we've been without it for a few days. So it'd be good to catch up with the onlines, because I'm a millennial and I can't cope without it, and have an IHOP. So Sheenie and I have spent the last few days remarking about how truly enormous Death Valley is, like the scale of everything, and it makes you feel really small and insignificant. But we've just had it proved to us how small the world really is. So we pulled over at Father Crowley Vista Point just to get a couple of pictures, and also to go for a wee, because they had a restroom there. Restroom. And there were 2 restrooms, so we both went in at the same time. And as I was like pulling my trousers up and whatever, I heard 2 men outside, English accents, like arguing about who was going to go first. And then me and Sheenie both opened the doors to the restrooms at the same time, and one of the guys went, "Oh," in unison. And then I said, "Oh, you're English, I'm English too." And then we started chatting to them, and their names were Martin and Phil. They're from London, and they're also on a road trip, but they've gone the other way to what we have. So
San Francisco. Yeah,
which we did last time, but not this time. So they went from LA up to Carmel, and we went from LA down to San Diego, and now we're heading up to Carmel. So we were just chatting away, and then in chatting we realised that we're going to be on the same flight home. What are the chances that, like 5,500 miles away from home, in the middle of the desert, outside a nature restroom, we just met a couple of people from home who are going to be on the same flight, 15 rows in front of us.
They're going to come and say hello.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. My mind is blown. We made it after the longest drive of the trip so far. We've arrived at the Red Lion Hotel where we've stayed before, and we're fairly sure, could be wrong, but fairly sure we're staying in the same room that we were last time. If not, it's laid out exactly the same and it's along the same corridor on the same side. So yeah, that's cool. Now that we are here, we are popping over the road to IHOP.
Did we do Denny's last time?
Yes, we did. We did a Denny's in the evening and IHOP in the morning.